Welcome back to Late Night with Dr. Paul. I am here with the famous Sully. You requested a virgin martini.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. So, Captain Sully, welcome to the show. Very excited to have you. You're a very famous person. Most probably know you from landing the plane on the Hudson River. My question to you to start with is, do you think you could land the same thing on the Welland Canal? Because it's quite a bit narrower.
Wrong, Sully. I've never flown a plane, and if I did, the end result would not be a belly landing on the river.
All right.
I'm just Sully.
So this is what happens when you take a hiatus from your show.
Mm-hmm.
The crack research team screws up sometimes, so we'll deal with them later. So I'm going to assume then you're the other famous Sully, William Sully O'Sullivan.
Correct.
From the Sully movement.
Yes.
That was my next guess. So let's get on to more serious topics. So you're really not a pilot, not a helicopter, glider, nothing.
Painter.
Painters are good.
I don't paint planes.
It's a little lower to the ground.
Yeah.
There's good money in painting planes. That's quite a skill.
There's good money just in painting.
That might be a nice sort of overlap there. You and Sully could have that in common. All right. Well, welcome to the show anyway.
Thank you.
Maybe you could share with the folks at home, people who may not be familiar with the Sully movement, what it is and a bit of the background where it came from.
I began protesting 59 weeks ago in front of St. Kevin's Parish. I was raped there by Father Donald Greco from 1979 to 1982. I came forward in 2010 after a life of mishaps, and since then, Greco was finally charged in 2015, convicted in 2017, and last year I started protesting in front of the church, and I'm not stopping until I see some comprehensive reform when it comes to the diocese.
What, 35-ish years from the time the assaults happened?
Correct.
To the time he was prosecuted?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What the hell took so long?
It's children, especially young boys, keep secrets when it comes to that stuff. You don't want to be ridiculed. It's shame and pride that kept me from coming forward for that long. Once I was able to puke out that shame and pride, this is the man you see today.
Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate thing is, of all the people that should be harboring shame, it's not you.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
But I understand this.
And it took 32 years for me to realize that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the priests involved, I guess, they were convicted. What was their penance?
One priest was convicted. The other priest is still being investigated. Greco received 18 months in 2010 for 3 survivors, mm-hmm. and another 18 months for myself and 2 other survivors. And he did 6 months and he's out on parole right now. Is
it me, or is that kind of a slap on the wrist?
It's a slap in the face to all of us survivors.
Well, a slap on the wrist to them.
Yeah, slap on the wrist to them.
Punch in the throat to you.
Yeah, and actually at the parole hearing, Greco blamed me and Grant LaFleche for his horrible time incarcerated because of the story.
It is Grant LaFleche's fault. He's on to something. So you said 59 weeks you've been protesting outside
59 weeks straight,
the church?
Yep. At week 52, good friends of mine, Rob and Russell, got together and surprised me with the Sully movement. And a bunch of people showed up at the church that I thought were counter-protesters. I got my camera out and then realized it was my friends. Strangers.
So how long did you maintain your protest independently before people joined in?
53 or 54 weeks. Yeah, and then now every week I have 20, 30 people, 40 people out there with me.
Fantastic.
Including well over 100 that stop, and with support, the honks of support, 5,000 a week kind of thing.
Well, you're on a busy street there, so.
That's one of the reasons why I picked that. I did my research where every parish Greco is at, and nobody has traffic like that. That's a perfect spot. Welland's never seen something like this. They've never experienced something like this, or experienced somebody like me. It's time.
The notion of counter-protest seems kind of perverse to me. Like, what are you counter-protesting? Are you in support of child rape? What is it that you would expect to And I'm sure you see them.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure people do show up and say, Sully, what are you doing? Go home. You know, there's nice people here at the church trying to go to mass.
Yeah, some people have. A few of the neighbors don't appreciate the honks. Let's face it, if I was in that neighborhood, I would probably not like those honks either. But
but you'd hope the people in the neighborhood wouldn't like the child rape either.
Exactly. The majority of the neighborhood, 98% of them, agree with me. There was a few neighbors that tried to lobby other neighbors, and it didn't work. Basically,
I know that, you know, I've come by a couple of times when you've been there, and I often see people, you know, walking in and out of church on Sunday morning with their children, and the question always just jumps to my mind is, what are you telling your kids? What are you telling your 6 or 7-year-old about what's going on? And how do you explain it honestly and still walk in the building? I don't know.
it's a good question. It's a good question. I've had many parents with 4, 5, 6-year-olds come up to me and hug me and thank me for protecting their children. I've had many grandparents thank me for protecting their grandchildren. So what I'm doing is working.
It seems to be. So
Yeah.
you have a hashtag Church 2. What
Yes.
does that mean?
That's just the movement that we've started, hashtag Church 2, the Sully movement, and it's just something that we continue putting on our clothes. You're going to start seeing this. You're already starting to see it everywhere.
Yeah. So beyond protests, just to move into your broader life a little bit, I know you've done some public speaking, high schools and whatnot. Tell us about that experience.
I've done a lot of federal time, and I've been over 9 years sober now. But when I was in the penitentiary, the actual security team brought me out to Trenton High School just to talk to the kids there. Shackled, handcuffed, about lived experience. I tried to get into the school board here. They're scared of me. They just seem to be afraid that they're going to be willing to back me and eventually they'll blow my lid. I don't think they understand. I think they think I'm coming from a scared straight aspect, and I'm not. I'm not a hypocrite. If you're going to do drugs, you're going to do drugs. Let me explain my journey to you. There's 2 paths: death or prison. Let me tell you what. So hopefully I get in and talk to our kids eventually.
So the public speaking is something you're hoping to expand upon?
Absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic.
With,
Well, I mean, I've heard you speak.
with a little help from my friends.
In spite of the Sully pilot jokes.
Yeah.
You know, you've spoken, you're very well spoken, very well educated about the subjects of which you speak. And
I know I'm still a little rough around the edges, but I have friends that are going to help mold and shape me to be able to speak properly in public speaking, not change the persona.
Well,
but
if you were a little rougher, you could be president.
Yeah.
I understand the local, that's what you call it, local bishop sent a letter out to the parishioners recently. What did that say?
He apologized to the parishioners for the loud noise in front of the church. He recognized I was there. There was no apology there. He called a few of their bad priests' actions, and the way it was worded, it was very carefully worded. If this ever came down to a legal matter with this letter, the word "us" could be the diocese worldwide, it could be the diocese in St. Catharines, it could be them in St. Kevin's Parish. So it was very well worded. Me and a friend of mine, Rob, went to go see Father Mulligan Tuesday the 30th. The 2nd, the letter came out.
This is October.
Yes, October 30th. The 2nd of November, the letter came out. On the 3rd, I was protesting there last week and noticed that St. Kevin's Parish between Tuesday and Friday had their property surveyed to make sure I wasn't on their property. I did my research. There's a severance there. Their signs of 14 inches over on regional property. So they went and paid a couple grand to get survey done to make sure I wasn't putting my signs on their property.
The important thing, I think, through the letter is for everyone to recognize that the church is the true victim here.
Absolutely. All the way through. The church is. They've been
You
lying.
laugh because it's so perverse.
Exactly. They've been lying to everybody for years. If you pull back that knitted sweater at the end of it's the Pope. Every Pope. Not just one, not just the odd one. The only thing about this Pope here...
This isn't an aberration, is it?
The only thing about this new Pope here is he mentions the word child sexual abuse more than any other one. None of them have done a thing.
So what is your end game here? What do you need for you to start sleeping in on Sundays?
For me to give up on the Catholic Church and stop protesting there as Sully would be a federal commission, not unlike our Indigenous commission here in Canada, to investigate the Catholic dioceses across this country. 393 guilty priests so far that we know about. I'm sure the number's higher because that was over a year ago. I researched that. It's time for a federal commission. Jagmeet Singh's on board. Trudeau's on board. I got them both on film saying that they will entertain this idea. And now we're going to go after some other ones. And this is going to happen regardless. It's going to happen
I hope it
eventually.
does.
It will.
It's long past time.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, I understand you're something of a John Lennon fan.
Oh,
What inspires you the most about him?
everything. What doesn't?
That's not an answer. Come on.
Everything.
Work harder.
John's moral stance, his ethical stance, his work ethic, wasn't the best dad, wasn't the best husband.
So he was human.
But eventually, exactly, he was human. But eventually things worked out for him. And then a really bad man took him away from us.
He did. Now, what about poor Ringo? I know you've got a spectacular John Lennon tattoo, circa, 1979 New York. Do you have a Ringo tattoo?
I can't show it to you here.
Would you consider one?
No, I don't. I like the Beatles. I love Lennon.
I feel bad for Ringo sometimes, you know what I mean?
Ringo.
Exactly. All right. Now, we're going to move on to the worst part of the show. Questions from the fans at home. Or more accurately, some of the lazy-ass viewers who are, watching at work when they should be being productive.
That's all right.
Instead of slacking off. This is from Matthew in Toronto. Sully, it must be very difficult for you to speak publicly about this. Have you always been this open, or is it something you had to build up to?
Oh yeah, it took me 32 years to build up to it. Yeah, it's therapeutic. This is therapeutic. Every day out in front of the church is therapeutic. When I talk to anybody in the Penn Center or on the streets of Welland or St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, it's all therapy.
Dr. Paul, is it true you used to be an altar boy? Actually, it was for a short time, until someone noticed too much spillage with the sacramental wine, and then I was dismissed. But sometimes you have these, early morning masses, 7:30, in the winter. You need to warm up.
Yeah, that's right. Sure.
Anyway, another one. Alan in Welland says, "Hey Sully, drove by the other Sunday and saw a lady walking around outside the church with rosary beads. Was she praying for you or against you?"
We don't know. Well, actually, we don't know. She hasn't spoken to me. She's spoken to a couple in the movement, said good morning, and I hope she's praying for the Catholic Church and praying for Bishop Burgee to be a hero here in Canada. But every time it rains, she goes back into the church. So let's see if she's out there January when it's -30.
Finally, from David in Scarborough, who would you like to play you in the HBO miniseries The Sully Movement? I'm going to guess not Tom Hanks. It's too confusing with the Sully movie.
It's a toss-up between my friend Rob and Russ. I'm not sure. I think Rob, I'd lean more towards Rob. He'd be better on film than Russ, I think.
You could pick a big movie star, some fancy name.
No.
I'm thinking Brad Pitt.
Yeah, right. No,
Gets a beard on him?
No movie stars, no.
All right, be like that. All righty, we're done.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Cheers again.
That was painless.
More or less. Appreciate you coming by. I want to encourage people to visit the Sully Movement page on Facebook and check out hashtag the Sully Movement, hashtag Church2, of course, to get updates on Sully's progress and events and whatnot. Thank Terrace in the Water again for hosting us here, and keep your eyes open. They're having their geodesic dome outdoor igloo private room thing coming back for the winter season. Should be very exciting. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, Black Ram Media, Rich Graphics, and of course the Holy See, because they're as hypocritical as ever. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Join us next time on Late Night with Dr. Paul. Cheers. The Vatican didn't really sponsor us.